In-game trades have been a staple of the Pokémon franchise for years, but in Pokémon HeartGold there are only 4 NPCs willing to trade their Pokémon with you. So I thought, why not try beat the entire Johto region using just these 4 Pokémon? That does mean I'm limiting myself to just 4 team members for the entire game, but to make things even harder, I'll be playing this as a hardcore Nuzlocke. That means I'll be using strict level caps, playing on set mode, and banning items in battle. And if a Pokémon faints, it's gone forever. Can we become the champion with just these 4 Pokémon? Let's find out. Attempt 1 begins as we pick up a Chikorita from Professor Elm. Why Chikorita? 2 reasons. 1, he's an adorable little guy who gets far too much undeserved hate. Secondly, it forces our rival to take Cyndaquil, which is a much better matchup for our first real encounter. We do the usual errand for Professor Elm and we lose to our rival Paul. Not a big deal. We push forward to Route 31 and catch a Bellsprout named Not Onyx. In Violet City, we trade Not Onyx for a Yes Onyx. Meet Rocky. He's our only encounter for the first 2 badges, so he's got a big job ahead. Rocky's first challenge, taking on an army of Bellsprouts at Sprout Tower, which is mandatory in this game. I was terrified of their claw effective Vine Whips, but after grinding him to level 9 for Rock Throw, we get to work. Turns out I had nothing to worry about. Despite his many flaws, Onyx's defense is insane. We steamroll through the tower, but then disaster strikes. At level 11, Rocky stops obeying me. Yep, traded Pokemon ignore your commands if they pass a certain level, so now we're up against multiple Bellsprouts and our only Pokemon refuses to listen. Elder Lee, which is a fantastic pun by the way, could be a serious roadblock. On the first turn, Rocky ignores me. Bellsprout goes for Vine Whip, but we tank it and Rocky eventually takes him out. Rocky plays ball for the second Bellsprout, and that just leaves Hoot Hoot. After a couple of hypnosis attempts, Rocky finally pulls through for the win. With Rocky right at the level limit, we have no time to waste, and it is straight to Faulkner. Rocky takes out Pidgey with a Rock Throw, and lands a Rock Throw on the first turn against Pidgeotto. Second turn, Rocky decides to loaf around, but Faulkner only uses Gust. On the next turn, Rocky connects with another Rock Throw, securing us the win and badge number 1. With badge number 1 secured, we very carefully make our way down to Azalea Town. There are a couple of big threats along the way who could easily end the run with their super effective moves. But even more concerning, the level cap is 17, and as a traded Pokemon, Rocky gets boosted experience, meaning we have to manage these next fights perfectly. Thankfully, we make it safely, take out Team Rocket at Slowpoke Well, and head to the Azalea Gym. This time there are mandatory trainer battles, and we get extremely close to the level cap. At one point, I think I'm forced into an unavoidable battle that would put me over the limit. But since it's a double battle and I only have 1 Pokemon, we actually skip it entirely. That means we can take on Bugsy, and luckily this one is smooth sailing. Scyther goes down to a couple of Rock Throws. Metapod and Kakuna, yeah, let's just move on. Don't get me wrong, I love these games, but some of the gym leader teams leave a lot to be desired. So the good news is we have our second badge, the bad news is Rocky is already at the level cap for the next gym, and in our next rival battle with Paul, Rocky hits level 20. Not to worry though, because on Route 34 we pick up our next encounter. Meet, not matchup, a Drowsy that we immediately trade in Goldenrod department store for the real deal. Muscle the matchup. If you had to design a Pokemon in a lab to perfectly counter Whitney, Muscle here would be perfect. She has the ability Guts, which boosts your attack when you're hit with a status condition. She's also a female, which means she's immune to Attract, and she has a lonely nature which boosts her attack even more. So, armed with only a level 10 matchup, it's time to take on gym number 3. First, we take out the gym trainers, hit level 19, and get burned by a friendly Vulpix. With Guts activated, it's time for Whitney. Muscle is able to one-shot Clefairy with the Karate Chop, and in comes Miltank, where things can get tricky. We take a very hard stomp, but avoid the flinch. I misplay and go for Karate Chop instead of Low Kick, which makes things a bit scarier. Luckily, our Oranberry kicks in, letting us survive another stomp before taking out Miltank for badge number 3. After some insane solo efforts, we finally get to have more than 1 Pokemon on the team. To celebrate this momentous occasion, we take a little family photo. But there's no time to relax. Our next opponent is Morty, and he can be a serious menace. We need all the help we can get. So, to prepare, we travel all the way to Olivine City to catch a Krabby. which we immediately trade for a Voltorb named Billy. We lead with Muscle the Machop, now armed with the TM for payback. Muscle is able to take out Ghastly and the first Haunter, but disaster strikes when Morty's Gengar comes in. Gengar proves far too much for Muscle and Muscle falls. At this point, even if I somehow pull off the rest of this fight, there's no way we can finish this challenge without Muscle. So I make the call and we restart, and with that, attempt number 2 begins. We're back in New Barktown, where we reunite with Subscribe the Chikorita. The early game plays out mostly the same, though this time Subscribe actually beats Paul's Cyndaquil, which is already an improvement. On Route 31 we catch Steelix the Bellsprout, trade for Rocky the Onix and get him to level 9 before heading into Sprout Tower. Here I skip an optional trainer to save experience, but Rocky still hits level 11 before Elder Lee, which means we're rolling the dice on whether he'll actually listen to me. Rocky is behaving for now, and Bellsprout number 1 goes down with ease. Bellsprout number 2 is a different story. Rocky refuses to listen, ignoring every command, while Bellsprout spams growth instead of attacking. Eventually we land a Rock Throw and it goes down. Finally Hoot Hoot comes in. Rocky is completely ignoring me at this point, but when we finally connect with Rock Throw, it's enough to get us the win. With no more distractions, we head straight to Faulkner, and this time Rocky is locked in. Pidgey goes down immediately to a Rock Throw. Pidgeotto comes in and Rocky misses the first attack, which is not ideal. But thankfully he's still listening and we hit the next 2 Rock Throws, securing us the win and badge number 1. After carefully navigating down Route 31, we arrive in Azalea Town, and it's time to take on Bugsy once again. This fight is a bit trickier this time, as Scyther lands a monstrous critical hit U-turn on the first turn. Out comes Metapod. Why Bugsy has a level 15 Metapod, I have no idea, but we take it out easily and Scyther returns. This time we lock out, as Scyther wastes a turn going for Focus Energy and we punish it with a huge Rock Throw. It barely hangs on and fires back with a critical hit Quick Attack, but Rocky tanks it, lands one final Rock Throw and Scyther is down. Finally, Bugsy's last Pokemon, Kakuna. Really? There are no other bug types in this entire region. Rocky makes quick work of it, and just like that we claim our second badge again. After a quick victory over rival Paul, Rocky reaches level 20 and we head to Route 34 where we catch another Drowsy. Straight to Goldenrod Department Store and we trade Drowsy for Muscle, our matchup, who's now the solo fighter for the upcoming Whitney battle. Whitney is a lot smoother this time. Clefairy goes down quickly with a guts boosted Karate Chop, and Muscle reaches level 20 in the process. Miltank is up next, and after surviving a stomp, Muscle takes it out with one low kick for our third badge. So Rocky comes back out the box and it's time to seriously prep for Morty this time. First up we go to Olivine to get ourselves our third teammate. One big difference, this time I use an old rod to fish for Krabby. This means that Billy will be level 10, which is important for the next fight. Just like last time, Billy likes to run, which is a really good thing because our next stop on the Morty prep is the Pokéathlon. This goes just about as awful as you'd expect. I absolutely suck at these minigames, but you are able to get yourself a metal coat which you can use to evolve Onix if you get enough points. Now, I might suck at Pokéathlon, but I am incredible at gambling. I mean investing. Next up is the game corner, and we're able to Voltorb flip ourselves a hefty balance. I use this to purchase the TM for Thunderbolt, which I slap onto Billy. I also pick up the TM for Payback, and it's time to go to work. So, why is Billy being level 10 so important? Well, I have to do something I don't usually, or particularly like to do, EV train. Now, if you don't know what EV training is, basically every time you defeat a Pokemon, you are awarded an effort value in a certain stat. Different Pokemon give different effort values to different stats. The more effort values you have in a stat, the better your stats become. Muscle also came equipped with a really useful item, the Macho Brace, which doubles the EVs given. So we get to work. Billy takes out a bunch of Magikarp for speed EVs, and a bunch of Mareeps for some special attack EVs. Being level 10 means I can take out more Pokemon and get more EVs. So, now that we have a supercharged Voltorb who likes to run, it's time for our rematch with Morty. We lead things off with Billy, who I've taken to just under level 26. I start things off with a taunt, which means Ghastly's mean look is redundant. This forces Ghastly to use Lick, as I set up a light screen. We dodge the paralysis on Lick and take out Ghastly with a Thunderbolt, and get to level 26. This is important, as at level 25 we were speed tied with Gengar. Now that we've leveled up, Billy is faster and will always move first. Now in comes Gengar. All the preparation comes down to this. As planned, we are now faster and Billy's Thunderbolt takes Gengar into the yellow. Gengar's Citrus Berry didn't activate here, which is slightly worrying as he hits us hard with a Shadow Ball. We've no option but to go for another Thunderbolt, and it leaves Gengar with what I can only assume is 1 HP. Gengar then fires off another Shadow Ball. Billy survives on 4 HP. I honestly can't believe it. Morty was looking like a massive roadblock, but Billy, who likes to run, is able to take out Gengar with another Thunderbolt, keeping the run alive. Out comes Morty's level 21 Haunter. This thing's moveset is interesting, however the only thing it can do to the pre-poisoned Muscle is Curse, so I feel like we have a pretty safe switch in. Muscle comes in as he tries and fails to use Hypnosis. On the next turn, Haunter does use Curse as Muscle takes him out with the payback. There's only one Haunter left, and as I feel like he's going to use Mean Look, I stick with Muscle, and that's exactly what happens, and Muscle is free to take out Haunter, getting us the 4th badge. That was honestly insane. To take out Morty with just a Voltorb and a Machop, that was the hardest I've ever had to work for a gym badge, and to come out unscathed is so rewarding. With badge number 4 secured, we head down to Cyanwood City, and after their heroics in the gym, Billy and Machop both evolve. As a special treat, Muscle also evolves all the way up to Machamp off screen. Now, there's nothing else to do but take on Chuck. We lead with Billy, who hits Primeape hard with Thunderbolt, as he sets up Double Team. It's a little risky, but I go for a Charge Beam to get a special attack boost. He does set up for Dynamic Punch, which could be a disaster if we miss, but luckily Billy pulls through and lands. Next up is Poliwrath, however Billy is able to take him out with a Thunderbolt, securing us badge number 5. Next up is Jasmine and her Steelix. To be honest, I have some serious reservations about the level curve in this game. Jasmine's Steelix is level 35, which is higher than Price's Piloswine, and we need to be very careful about over leveling at this point in the run. Luckily, we have Muscle, our Machamp, ready to carry us through. We begin with the 2 Magnemites. Muscle takes them both out easily with Karate Chop. Now for the big one, Steelix. We go for a Guts boosted low kick, but it doesn't quite do enough, leaving Steelix hanging on with a sliver of health. Thankfully, Muscle survives Iron Tail and finishes the job with another low kick, securing us badge number 6. We make our way to the Lake of Rage and encounter the shiny Gyarados, which we take down without hesitation. Right after, we meet Lance, who asks us to storm the Team Rocket hideout together. I'm honestly not sure why he needs our backup, especially since, as previously mentioned, the level curve in this game is absurd. I have 6 badges and I'm going up against level 17 Drowsies in the hideout. Really? But we power through and make our way to Price's gym. We lead with Billy, who makes quick work of Seal with a Thunderbolt. A Seal. In the 7th gym, a Seal. Next up is Piloswine, so we swap to Muscle, who handles the big pig with Revenge. Finally, Dugong takes a low kick from Muscle and we secure badge number 7. We get a phone call from Professor Elm, who asks us to deal with Team Rocket's shenanigans in Goldenrod. Apparently there's nobody else in the region capable of handling level 24 Raticates. I guess youngster Joey was just busy or something. Anyway, after briefly joining Team Rocket, which is actually super cool, we face off against Paul once more. He's still no match for us and Muscle handles most of the heavy lifting. After getting the card key, I finally get my wish. We come up against a worthy foe. We do however almost lose Muscle to a critical hit Fire Fang, but luckily the team pulls together and we finish off Team Rocket once and for all. Time to move on to Blackthorn City, home to our final encounter. To get our final team member, I head back to the Voltorb flip table for some more investing. After what feels like an eternity, we manage to get a female Dratini. Once she evolves into Dragonair, we trade her for a Dodrio named Doris. Honestly, I thought my nicknames were bad. With all 4 team members in place, it's time to prep for Claire. Our first stop is Olivine Beach, where we break what feels like a billion rocks to collect some heart scales. We use these to teach Rocky Icefang and Doris Pluck. Both will be really useful for the upcoming fights. I also use an online calculator to discover that Billy's hidden power is a 53 base power dragon type move, which is really handy for Claire's team. So, with everyone at level 41, it's time for badge number 8. We lead with Billy, who makes quick work of Gyarados using Thunderbolt. Next up is Dragonair number 1, who gets hit with a hidden power but survives. Dragonair tries to hit us with Thunder Wave, which activates our Cherry Berry, and we manage to bring it into the red. As Claire heals, we set up a light screen. Now, my plan works perfectly. Dragonair goes for another Thunder Wave as we switch into Muscle. Tough luck, buddy, you've just activated Guts and sealed your own fate. Muscle gets to work, taking out Dragonair number 1 and Dragonair number 2 with big cross chops. In comes Kingdra, and thanks to the light screen, we're able to survive a Hydro Pump and hit hard with another cross chop. It's maybe a bit too much for Muscle now, so we switch into Doris, who eats up a Hydro Pump of her own. Doris is then able to outspeed Kingdra and finish things off with a Pluck, earning us our 8th and final badge. That was a wild ride. Getting through Claire's gym and securing the last badge was no small feat, but Billy, Muscle, Rocky and Doris pulled through in spectacular fashion. It's been one heck of a journey to get here, but now we're truly on the home stretch. Before we can head to the Elite Four, we go on a small detour, taking on the Kimono Girls. Now, if we've not already established the fact that Muscle is incredible, then she truly cements it here. She takes out Umbreon, Flareon, and Jolteon with cross chops. Vaporeon does survive one, but we outspeed and get the KO with a strength on the next turn. She only needs help for Espeon, which Rocky is more than happy to do. We get ourselves to Clearbell, it's time to take on Hole. Now, I've made some comments about the gym leader teams and the level curve, but it's time to highlight my favourite thing about these games. They are beautiful. I love the art style in these games, and this little path is honestly just so nice. Anyway, scenery aside, it's time for Billy to face down a god. Billy lands a critical hit on Ho-Oh before taking a Fire Blast. We're able to outspeed and take out Hoothoot's evolved form, and it's time for the Elite Four. After a ridiculous level of preparation, and with the team up to level 47 to match Karen's Houndoom, it's time to see if these guys can become champion. Up first is Will and his Psychic type Pokemon. He starts by sending out his first Xatu, and we're able to take it out with the Choice Specs Thunderbolt on Billy. Up next is Jinx, who just barely survives a Thunderbolt. We get a clean switch to Rocky on the heal, and he's able to knock out Jinx with a Crunch. Slowbro is up next, so we switched back to Billy while he uses Curse. A Thunderbolt on the next turn is enough to take him out. Executor comes in, and we switch to Doris on Hypnosis. Luckily, we came prepared, and the Chesto Berry activates. This means we can get the KO next turn with a Drill Peck. Will's last Pokemon is another Xatu, so we stay in and use Pluck with Doris to steal his Oran Berry, before switching to Rocky, who seals the deal with Crunch. Next up is Koga, and we lead things off with Doris. Ariados? More like Adios, as Doris sends that spider packing with a Drill Peck. In comes Fortress, which is a bit scarier. We switch to Rocky on the Protect and take out this exploding Pinecone with a charcoal boosted Fire Fang. We then go back to Doris, who takes out Venomoth with Drill Peck, and Muck with a couple of returns. Last up is Crobat, who sets up with Double Team. We go back into Rocky, who finishes things off with a couple of Ice Fangs. Now, it doesn't matter what game you play, if Bruno is there, he's going to be a pushover. Doris continues her great form here, taking out Hitmontop with a Drill Peck. She outspeeds Hitmonchan and gets herself yet another one-hit KO. It would be a Doris sweep if not for his Onix, so Rocky comes in to take him out with a couple of Earthquakes. We go back into Doris for Hitmonlee, who uses Focus Energy on the switch. High Jump Kick might have been a problem, but Doris cleans things up with another Drill Peck. Now, there's no prizes for guessing what happens next. Doris gets yet another KO on Bruno's Machamp, taking out our third Elite Four member. Doris was a little late to the party, but she's made a serious impact on this team already. Now it's time to speak to the manager of the Elite Four. That's right, Karen is up next. She actually has a decent team, with some good Pokemon and good coverage, and as the penultimate battle of this run, we have to stay on our toes. We lead with Muscle, who takes out Umbreon with a Cross Chop. Murkrow goes down to a Thunderbolt from Billy, but not before he lands a really hard Sucker Punch. Up next is Karen's ace, Houndoom. We go back into Muscle, who eats a Dark Pulse. As Karen sets up with a nasty plot, I decide to go for Low Kick, as I don't want to risk missing. Luckily, that's still enough for the KO. Gengar is up next, who can threaten us with Destiny Bond. Luckily, she goes for Spite and we get the KO with Payback. Finally, Karen sends out her Vileplume, who goes down to a Drill Peck from Doris. That's the Elite Four taken care of, as Karen sends us to the champion with one last message. Strong Pokemon, weak Pokemon. That is only the selfish perception of people. Truly skilled trainers should try to win with in-game trade Pokemon, and that's exactly what we're about to do, provided we can take down Lance. This is no small feat, however, as his team is a joke. If the Charizard and Aerodactyl weren't bad enough, he has 3 Dragonites. It's going to take a minor miracle to pull this off, but if anyone can do it, it's these guys. First up is Gyarados, who stands no chance as Billy lands a Thunderbolt. Now the fight really starts. Out comes his ace, the level 50 Dragonite. We switch into Rocky, who tanks an Outrage. Luckily, he's locked into Outrage and Rocky lands an Ice Fang. After his second Outrage, Dragonite becomes confused, and we luck out massively as it hits itself in confusion, which lets Rocky get the KO with another Ice Fang. Out comes Charizard, who lands a devastating critical hit Fire Fang on Billy. Luckily, Billy is still faster and takes out Charizard with another Thunderbolt. We're halfway there as Lance sends out another Dragonite. Now, Lance has 2 level 49 Dragonites, and they have different movesets. So, to scope out which is which, I make the difficult call to send out Doris, who just barely survives a Dragon Rush. Doris outspeeds and lands a massive return, but it's not enough for the KO, and as Dragonite connects with the Thunder, we lose our first Pokemon of this attempt. Rest in peace, Doris, thank you so much for all your help. Doris's death was not in vain, as it lets me know that this is the Dragonite that carries Thunder, so we switch into Rocky. This next turn is horrible. Not only does Dragonite land a critical hit Dragon Rush, Rocky misses Ice Fang. Things then go from bad to worse as Dragonite gets to flinch with his next Dragon Rush. There's nothing we can do here, and it's looking like we're about to lose Rocky. But Rocky has other ideas, as his Quick Claw activates, which means we can outspeed Dragonite and get the KO. I was so ready to lose Rocky there. What an absolute hero. As Lance sends out his final Dragonite, I would love to switch Rocky out here, but we need everyone we've got to take out the rest of Lance's team. My only hope is that Quick Claw activates again, but it's not meant to be, as Dragonite misses Blizzard. Okay, there's still a chance as Rocky lands a massive Ice Fang. We are still in the same position, and we're going to need a miracle to pull this off. Unfortunately, the Quick Claw doesn't activate, and Lance's Dragonite misses again. Oh my absolute days, just like the Italian stallion, Rocky refuses to go down, as he takes out yet another Dragonite. I cannot believe it. However, as Lance sends out his final Pokemon, Aerodactyl, we are still in a horrible position, and Rocky really can't take another hit. Billy doesn't have enough health for a switch, and Muscle is at risk from a super effective Aerial Ace. So I have to stay in with Rocky, and this absolute legend survives yet another hit, and he's still standing strong with 7 HP. Rocky connects with an Ice Fang, and now we have a decision to make. Option 1, we switch out to Muscle, who more than likely gets taken out with Aerial Ace, which then gives us a clean switch to Billy. Option 2, we stay in with Rocky, Quick Claw activates, we get the win, and it's the greatest performance of all time. Option 3, we stay in, Quick Claw doesn't activate, Rocky gets knocked out, and it's probably still the greatest performance of all time. Well, this guy's been with us from the start, and I have no reason to stop trusting him now, so we stay in. And Aerodactyl connects with Rock Slide, taking out our starter. I'm at a loss for words. I've never used Steelix in a Nuzlocke before, but Rocky's performance in this run has been generational. From the disobedient Onix who laughed in the face of quad-effective grass types to the dragon-slaying Steelix who just refused to die. This is a Hall of Fame Nuzlocke performance if I've ever seen one. Rest in peace, Rocky, the best Steelix to ever do it. We do still have a job to do, and Billy comes in to avenge our fallen comrade, taking out Aerodactyl, beating Lance, and winning us the entire challenge. Now, before we close things off, I just have to highlight how insanely well Billy and Muscle did. I did not have many options for this run, and these guys consistently pulled off miracle after miracle. Why anyone would want to trade these Pokemon, I will never know, but one man's trash is another man's treasure, and these guys will forever be champions. This run was incredible. I've been Nuzlocking for well over a decade, and I can say that that was hands down one of my favourite runs of all time. After that first loss, I was ready to scrap the challenge. I really didn't want to run it back, but boy am I glad I did. I had so much fun making this video, and I really hope you enjoyed watching it. My name is Dalsono, and I've been posting videos here on YouTube for just over a month. I have some really cool runs on the channel already, but I am just getting started and I have so much more in the works. So if you don't want to miss anything in the future, it might be a good idea to hit the subscribe button. Other than that, I think that's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.